Every few months, someone on the internet comes out to say the same thing about how the movie Terminator 2 accurately predicts the AI world we live in today. Lots of love, lots of likes. But just like every other deep dive episode before this, I'm here to tell you there's actually much more to the movie than we have so far discussed. Welcome to another episode of All You Need to Know with your host, Saranya Gopinath. And today we are going to be discussing the movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day. If you haven't seen this classic 1991 movie, here is a quick recap. Spoiler alert. Actually, the entire episode is going to be full of spoiler alerts. So just go watch it and come back. This is the brief setup. There is a kid called John Connor, right? And he is destined to grow up and lead the human resistance against the machine uprising and help lead the human fight against the machines. So the machine world sends a killer robot into the past to kill the kid when he is young to prevent the future. The human resistance, in a response, also sends a good robot to save the kid in the past. Now, for the purpose of this conversation, we are going to call the good robot, the character played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, as well, Schwarzenegger, and the bad robot, who is played by the actor Robert Patrick. He will be called Mercury Man, mostly because that's what I called him when I was a kid. Also, because the power of this robot is that it can take on the role and look of any person that it touches, which in hindsight is really kind of talking about the way that AI will take on everybody's jobs. Maybe? Now, let's address what you have been asking. Why is a podcast about AI policy talking about a movie? Well, because in my opinion, it gives a lot of the vocabulary for AI conversations that we are seeing around us today. It helps us understand and put into words what a lot of us are feeling. And another reason is that the future that the movie is set in or refers to is 2029, which is just 3 years away. So, this is the perfect window to understand whether or not this movie was accurate or whether that was even the point. Okay, let's jump right in. Now, like several pieces of wonderful science fiction, there are a lot of instances and scenes from the movie that almost predict the present day world. Like, there is this one scene that captures the robots talking to each other, both the Schwarzenegger and Mercury Man. They're on the phone talking to each other, which is really the agent speaking to agent world that we are now entering into. And what's really fun is that the Schwarzenegger character really uses what we now understand as the what you know principle as a security feature. So he asks the bad robot something that the person the bad robot is impersonating should know, but it kind of glitches over there.
What's the dog's name?
Max. Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.
Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine. What are you?
Your first appearance are dead.
And then that's when Schwarzenegger knows that the bad robot is not who he claims he is. So it really talks about like the deep fake impersonation world that we're currently talking about. We can do a deep dive about it. I really think it's a very cool scene and how accurately it predicts some what we're talking about. But the other thing that I really appreciate what the movie does is it really talks about the spectrum of what AI can be used for. I mean, obviously, for dramatic purposes, there's a lot of focus on the killer robotness and it's the ability of both the robots to like fight and destroy. But it actually also captures a lot of what our science fiction imagination and what present day pursuits are, which is fixing cars, driving vehicles autonomously, whether it's a truck or a chopper, to even helping out the humans where they need to. And there was one scene where Sarah, the mother, observes how the Schwarzenegger robot is a dependable, trusted companion for her young son, how it will take care and listen and never let him down. And I think that speaks a lot to what the spectrum of utility and reactions to AI there are, whether it's in growing your skills or whether it is in being a companion. But before we deep dive into that, I think this is what the movie really tries to explore, which is the spectrum of what AI can be used for, but also the spectrum of human reactions to AI. And it's really smartly captured in the personification of the characters themselves. Hear me out. So let's start with the character Sarah Connor, right? In the movie, it opens with her doing these badass pull ups, but she's effectively been institutionalized because she has been trying to warn everyone around her of this impending takeover of the machines. Nobody believes her, she sounds really crazy, and is declared mentally unstable and is thrown into an institution. Well, 35 years ago, talking about the takeover of AI got you crazy looks. Today, those exact same conversations are what's happening in governments, in large research labs, in universities, and in entire companies dedicated to AI safety. But the archetype of Sarah Connor is the fearful one. She doesn't trust AI, she doesn't see the good coming out of it. And her role in the movie is trying to shut down AI as comprehensively and as soon as possible. And well, if she read the headlines that we read today, I would argue I cannot not completely sympathize with her. She has a point. But that's that character, which is very anti AI, anti, like, this sentient machine, and she wants to shut it down. The second character, which is an interesting archetype, is the one of Miles Dyson, the creator. Now, Dyson is the scientist who's predicted to create the chip that would spark the AI arms race. So he's not this evil billionaire kind of let's end the world kind of guy. He's just a scientist who wants to build the next thing. And he genuinely appreciates the potential of science and what he sees as the potential of his invention. But when Sarah Connor tells him what his invention will lead to, like the immense destruction of humanity, he's so horrified that he immediately decides to destroy his entire life's work. He doesn't even think twice. He's ready to burn it all to the ground, literally, just to make sure that that future doesn't come true. To the point where he even ends up sacrificing his life just to ensure that the work is completely destroyed and that there is no potential to replicate it. And that's where I really appreciate the character taking a lot of responsibility. He's a scientist. He sees evidence, he changes his mind, and he changes his decisions. And that's the Miles Dyson archetype. The we can build it almost completely optimistic perspective about AI. But then that brings us to the John Connor character, the kid who is destined to lead the charge, the fight against the machines, against the AI. Now, in the movie, he does something that neither the Sarah Connor or the Miles Dyson character do. He actually bonds with the Schwarzenegger robot. He reacts most to it. Now, by design, that comes from a very childlike place or a childlike plotline in the movie. This young kid is completely fascinated by this big, powerful machine that is duty bound to listen to him. When he first discovers that the machine obeys him, he's completely enamored, and that really allows him to interact and bond with the machine. I would say that's not very different from the way that you and I have reacted to AI. I have been completely fascinated that it can do like the boring tasks in my life. I can completely outsource the things that I do not like to do, and the machine just does it with a smile. That's the enthusiastic response. But what I really also like, what happens in the movie, is that John, the John Connor character, soon realizes that he can train the AI, that he can engage with it. So he actually tells the Schwarzenegger robot to not kill. He tells you're not supposed to kill people.
Jesus, you were gonna kill that guy!
Of course, I'm a Terminator.
Listen to me very carefully, okay? You're not a Terminator anymore, all right? You got that? You just can't go around killing people.
Why?
What do you mean, why? 'Cause you can't.
Why?
Because you just can't, okay? Trust me on this.
and the robot listens. And after that, any fight or any kind of fighting or engaging in combat that Schwarzenegger does, it hurts the humans, but it makes sure it never kills the humans. Diametrically opposite from where the Mercury Man is, bad robot, killing rampage and just hurting humans left, right, and center. So John Connor as a character, even though his end fate is very much against the machines, he's not scared of the machines, nor does he worship it. He genuinely believes that he should have the machines lead with human values. And he takes on the responsibility of engaging with it and getting the machine to be better. And I think that's the most important idea of the movie, that it ensures that you understand that the machine doesn't become better by itself. It becomes better because somebody's taken the responsibility for shaping it. So, what is the movie trying to tell us? What is Terminator 2 trying to communicate to us apart from being just like a really cool movie? It's actually not about whether AI is good or bad. It's not passing judgment on the technology. Because if you think about it, the way that it's set up, the way to defeat the bad AI is with good AI. So it doesn't get into, and in fact, it kind of also tries, exploring the idea of, can we stop the progress of the AI or the science completely? The fact that there were like 3 more sequels after this would argue maybe not. But the point is, if the AI is here, if the march towards the bad robot is here, the answer is not necessarily in shutting down. The answer is possibly in engaging and creating better technologies that you can train and create a more deterministic future in how it can work for us and not against us. That is kind of captured in these 3 archetypes: the fearful one, the optimistic one, and the kind of let's create it together character. And I think that's really a very interesting take from a movie created and released in 1991, and what it can still teach us about the world we live in today. There is this line in the movie. It's called "No Fate." And she kind of carves it into the table before she takes like this important action in the movie. Um, the full phrase is that no fate, the future is not set. There is no fate but what we can make for ourselves. And in an otherwise kind of dystopian movie, it's very optimistic and hopeful because it says that the fate is not this inevitable thing that's marching at us. It's what we decide to make out of it and how we decide to impact and change the future. There is no such thing as a predetermined fate. It's how we create the future and how we make it work for us. And that's actually what I really like about this movie. And as we've seen, the utility and the explorations of AI are far beyond our imaginations. It's helping artists be better, it's helping people learn new skills, it's creating a whole new world of discovery and engagement which people previously didn't have. Now, that opens up a world of possibilities. Is that something worth engaging with? Is that something that we should shut down because we don't know where it might lead? Or is it something which we should spend a lot of time and effort in making sure we build responsibly, engage with, and ensure that it works for us and not against us? We need to John Connor it on steroids. You should totally go see the movie again. A lot of what I saw on social media got me to sit down and like revisit this classic from the 90s. If you're a millennial, rewatch it. If you haven't seen this movie before, I envy you. Sit back with some popcorn. I really love seeing, these really hopeful, optimistic science fiction movies, which start off in this crazy place, but really end up where addressing the point where we are today. And I really like that that's the takeaway from this movie from 1991. Okay, this was just a fun retrospect moment. Do let me know what you think. If you really feel as strongly about this movie as I do, or if there's another movie that you think actually more accurately predicts the day that we're currently in. And with that, this is Saranya signing off. Hope you have a great one, and I'll catch you another episode of All You Need to Know.